Brioche Stitch, are you ready? You ready to show off all the new knits? Get people excited for MKAL season? It's gonna be your second MKAL and your first MKAL. Okay, we're gonna talk about all the MKAL details. We have two assistants today. It's been a while since I've done a Woolly World of Westknits. Brioche and Stitch, are you gonna help me out? Brioche is gonna run off to his napping spot. So we have a lot of new designs to catch up on, and we're gonna talk all about some mystery knit-along details in this episode, and just chill out and get inspired by some colors and some knits, and basically just talk about knitting while we wait for October 6th, which is when the mystery knit-along starts. So grab your knitting and a beverage, and let's hang out and see what's new in the Woolly World of Westknits. So this last month, I've been just on a roll, getting all these patterns out, because during the knit-along, the mystery knit-along that's coming, it's all focus is on the knit-along and answering your questions, getting people's yarns picked out. So I wanted to get out like all the patterns that I've been working on this summer. So you may have noticed like every week in the last month, there was a new Westknits pattern. So you don't have to knit them all, okay? Well, not now. You can knit them gradually. But I wanted to get a lot of different styles out for you so that you could pick if you wanted to work on a sweater or a shawl or some socks. My first sock pattern, well, proper sock pattern just came out. So I'm wearing the most recent design that I just came out with, ready for fall. It's been really hot here in Amsterdam, but I'm still wearing this sweater, just trying to summon fall to finally arrive. But I'm ready for it. I've got my DK weight sweaters stashed and stored in my little knitting cabinet. So this is a new DK weight pattern called the Pierre Pullover, and I wanted to make it inspired by the Pierre Shawl. So you may have noticed this year the Dustland sweater, the Pierre Pullover. I've been taking some shawl ideas and transforming them into sweaters. So this was the shawl. Have you made this one yet? It's a really quick one because it's DK weight. So the fingering weight shawls are big, luscious, and drapey, but they take a little bit of time to knit with that fine gauge. This is a much quicker project with the DK weight yarn. Use a US 7 or 8, 4.5 or 5 millimeter needle, and you just need 4 colors to knit the Pierre Shawl. So this came out a few years ago, and I just love the texture, and it's easy stitches, you know, just some knit purl texture, but it changes in a nice rhythm, so you never get bored, and you get to fade your colors together, which is always really exciting to see how those colors transition. So I took all those stitches and applied them to a circular yoke. So the Pierre Pullover starts at the top with a folded hem collar, and then you just keep on increasing and try on the sweater as you go. So I wrote this pattern in 9 sizes, and you can customize the length by knitting a shallower yoke or knitting a longer yoke. So there's some notes in the pattern on how to customize those proportions for you. But start by choosing one of the 9 sizes and then select 4 colors, and then you can fade them starting with the lightest and go down to the deep, dark, or more saturated colors for the cuffs and the bottom of the sweater. So I was really happy with how this one turned out, and I definitely need some more DK weight sweaters in my fall wardrobe. But this one I think I'm going to be wearing a lot. So these are from Walk Collection, and we put together some really fun kits for this sweater, and there should still be some of those available. You can check out on Stephen and Penelope. We had this whole rainbow kit launch of these Pierre Fade pullovers, and it's their Merino DK base. If you haven't knit with that Walk Collection Merino DK, that one and Life in the Long Grass are like my 2 go-to DK weight yarns. And the Walk Collection DK has that really nice fluffy quality to it, but it's still really strong because there's multiple plies of yarn spun around each other, so it's quite hard wearing, and yeah, it lasts a long time. I've had this Pierre Shawl with Walk Collection Merino DK for several years, and I handle it, I wear it a lot, I use it in all my videos and wear it outside, and it still looks brand new. So it's been on Iceland trips with me in the past, and yeah, I show this one off a lot, and it's rarely showing any signs of pilling. So Walk Merino DK is, yeah, a good superwash, hard-wearing hand-dye wool. So I think I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this fall, and I'm trying to think what other sweaters I should cast on. I have another sweater coming this fall, a garter stitch one that I previewed in one of the previous Woolly Worlds of Westknits, and it's a solid color sweater, and I've really been like enjoying wearing these like simple colors, like neutral with a pop or a solid sweater. So I think I need, ooh, I'm gonna be showing you some socks next. And I was thinking about doing a sweater with this stitch pattern. This would be a really good circular yoke slip stitch, but I don't know if I would do it in fingering weight, because for my size, that's a lot of stitches to knit. Maybe I'll do a DK weight version with these little slip stitches, and I could expand the motif for the yoke shaping. What do you think? Do I need to do a rain or shine sweater? I think that would be a really fun, like stash busty. Those are, yeah, just really fun to knit. I love knitting sweaters that have like 20 colors to them and like diving into my stash buckets. So that might be, that's on my like long list of things I need to make. Yeah, I'm sure you're not familiar with that. You just have one or two things you want to make. Yeah, as knitters, we've got like, yeah, a list of 20 or like 200 things we want to make. So that's one reason I always keep knitting. I like knit almost every day, and I feel like I'm always knitting just so I can finish and start the next project. So it's fun to make the project, but really I'm like, I just have to finish it so that I can make the sweater. And then as I'm starting the sweater, I'm already thinking of, okay, I have to finish the sweater so I can make that shawl. And then I never finish, I just start the other project anyway, and then you just have that cycle of works in progress in your life. But then there's always a magical moment where there's like some week where you're picking up those works in progress and you're working on a few of them, and there's like a few projects that are all almost done, and it's like this magical eclipse moment that happens like once a year or maybe once a decade, where you finish like 5 things in 1 week. I love that. That hasn't happened in a while, but I think that means I need to cast on more things so I have a better chance of finishing more things at the same time. Does that make sense? It's just my excuse to cast on like 5 new projects tonight. Maybe I'll start that sweater. Okay, this is how my projects start. So these are the rain or shine socks, and I'm really excited to publish my first sock pattern. These are already out, and they're really good stash busters. So it's fingering weight sock yarn for all those contrast color stripes, and I used a dominant color, or like the main color, for the cuffs and the heel and the toe. And I'm not going to talk any more about socks without talking about my friend Linda, Barbaknit, on Instagram. So my friend Linda in Iceland gave me her little recipe for sock construction and her garter stitch heel flap. And there's a link to this tutorial in the pattern, Linda's tutorial for the heel. And that's what got me over my like sock block. I always said I hated knitting socks, and I really did, but I just told myself to knit some socks and suck it up. That Linda tells that to me all the time. She's just like, suck it up, buttercup. And I'm like, okay, I'll stop complaining. Like, why do you have to hate something in knitting if you like knit everything else? I mean, I have like buckets of sock yarn, so why did I always hate socks? It was just one of those things I think I told myself, and then I believed it. But then when I told myself, just start some socks, just make them, you're a sock knitter, you love socks, I tricked myself into making socks. And I kind of love it. And I've made like 4 or 5 pairs already. So I've already written like 3 or 4 other sock patterns that are going to be coming out this winter. So for you sock knitters that have been patiently waiting and looking at all those Westknit shawls and being like, you little shawl freak, how many of those are you going to use? I finally have some socks for you. So I'm expanding my horizons, expanding what I can do with yarn, and I'm getting excited because all this yarn I already have that I thought was my shawl yarn, I'm like, I have like an epic amount of sock yarn that I could never knit enough socks in my lifetime. So that's why I started doing all these stash busty socks. But whenever I'm sock knitting, I feel like I don't want to reinvent the wheel, because there's all these die-hard sock patterns that have different heels and funky constructions, and like I don't want to get into that quite yet. I just want to make a sock that goes on my foot. So it's top down. I've shared a lot of video tutorials for the techniques that I used, like the German twisted cast on, how to weave in your ends as you go, and Kitchener stitch. There's all these videos linked in the pattern, and I just want a sock to be a sock. Okay, are you with me? I don't want to reinvent a sock. I just want a sock, but with colors and fun textures, and I want it to fit. So I included 5 sizes in the pattern with notes on how to lengthen the cuff and the foot. And if you haven't knit a sock before, this is my first proper sock pattern, so it's a really good place to start. If you haven't made a sock, this is my first place to start for designing socks. So it's a really good entryway into Westknit socks, because there's going to be more to come. But I'm just so happy and so pleased that they fit, and that I even matched the colors. Who am I? I like did the same color sequence, and I don't want my socks to be bulletproof. These are done on like a size 1 or a 2 needle. I might do some socks on a size 0 in the future if I want to wear them in my boots or something for the winter. But my purpose for making socks is I want to wear them and like look at them while I'm knitting. I don't want to shove them in a shoe, and I don't knit for the practicality of socks. I want to knit for, like, it's a great place to have knitting because your eyes can like look at your feet and your toes can like wiggle the colors, and you can be knitting your project and admiring some beautiful yarns on your foot. So they're more like, yeah, they're not socks. They're foot embellishments, foot decoration, design for the foot. Yeah. I don't know. It's a sock. Okay, whatever. It's a sock. I made socks. Knit some socks. Rain or shine socks. You're welcome. Okay, we've got another shawl. You saw this one, I think, a month or so ago. And I've been just loving seeing all your color palettes. And some of you have even finished this already. It's a big schlanket with 7 colors. The Shawl Smorgasbord. And this is one of those shawls that's great for using up those single skeins, and it never gets boring. I just love the constantly changing textures. So every section is a new eyelet texture, and a few of the patterns repeat. So if you like one of the stitch patterns, you'll see it again later, but with a different color combo. And this was my stash busty version of Shawl Smorgasbord, and I was really pleased with the creamy, light, summery, sherbety colors. I haven't knit something quite with this palette before. And if you're picking colors, I really love using a multicolor or like a variegated yarn for that crisscross section. So if you look in the pattern and see what colors are used for the elongated crisscross stitches, I would recommend doing a multicolor yarn for that, because it's so fun to see those long little streaks of color being highlighted with those elongated stitches. But get 7 colors together, or do a stash dive version, and you could get like 15 colors in your yarn bucket and just pop them into the stripes, make it up as you go. But really fun, really big, and a great project for adding a section here or there in between your other cast-ons and sock and sweater projects. All right, one final design that was a new one was another kind of reinterpretation of a previous design I did earlier this year. I did what is this pattern called? The Garter Marler sweater. So this was the first one I did, a stash busty fingering weight held double sweater. And I love how like mixed and marled and streaky and random you can do the colors. And so I wanted a cardigan version. So check out this moody neutral with a pop. I just love this so much, and I picked buttons that matched the colors, and the button store didn't have enough buttons of the same color, so I just grabbed one of each color that I liked. Red and blue and green. So really, really fun. It's the same kind of construction as the Garter Marler sweater. So it's top down, try it on as you go. But the difference is this is entirely in the round, the Garter Marler sweater. So you do have to knit around, purl around. Knit 1 round, purl 1 round. That's okay. I'm not anti-purling, but I do like just knitting better. So with the Garter Marler cardigan, there's very little purling. It's mostly knit flat, back and forth. So this is probably one of the easiest sweaters, I think, because the shaping is really simple. You just like have a few increase rounds in the yoke, and the rest you're just knitting. The stitch count doesn't change in the body. So after you finish the yoke, you just have the same stitch count, and it's a great TV, like knitting project. So the Garter Marler cardigan is one of those that I like have my big bucket of yarn next to me while I watch my shows. And I just like grab a color, and sometimes I don't even plan which color comes next. So I just have a big bucket of colors, and I always make up the color changes as I go. And it's a really relaxing project. So it's one of those, you just sit on the couch. If you don't want to concentrate on your project, you just grab the Garter Marler cardigan, knit some garter stitch, add some stripes, and then maybe press pause on the TV when you pick up for the button band. Then you focus a little more. Or you can count a little bit for the sleeve decreases. But I have a trick, okay? I have a revelation, something to reveal. Whenever I do my sleeve decreases, I don't think I have any sweater. I've probably made like 60 or 80 sweaters or something. None of those sweaters have perfectly matching sleeve decrease rates, okay? I always eyeball it. You know, if I'm decreasing a sleeve, I might be decreasing every 8 rounds or something, or every 12 rounds, but I always go over and like knit an extra couple rounds, but I never tink back. So I always just like, oh, I missed a decrease. I'm a few rows later in the sleeve. I just decrease again. Or if I completely miss one of my decreases, the next time I do a decrease, I'll do a knit 3 together instead of a knit 2 together. So yeah, I always just make it up and eyeball it. I try to be a kind of careful on the first one to make sure it fits nice. But then whenever I'm making the second sleeve, I just try to make it look like the other one. And yeah, you don't have to decrease perfectly every 8 rows. You can do every 8, every 10, once in a while. Oops, a little early, every 6. Yeah, just eyeball it. You can use stitch markers to help you, but I don't like that perfection of symmetry and doing things exactly the same every time when it's gonna look the same anyway. So if you don't decrease for like 30 or 40 rows, then your sleeve might look really different or fit differently on you. But if it's just a few rows, like, don't tink, okay? Just think how much better your life is gonna be without going back. Don't go back in your knitting and don't go back in life, okay? We go forward, we go forward. So that's the Garter Marler cardigan, and I'm really excited about that. You just like throw it on, button it up, and I think I need to do some more cardigans, but I don't know what style yet. Maybe a dustland cardigan? Would that be fun? Taking that dustland pullover and putting some buttons on it. And I think I want another cardigan that's like a really big, drapey, like, yeah, loose, oversized style. This one's a little more fitted with the sleeves, but I want one that's more, you can just swim in it and like hibernate in it all winter. So if you don't know it yet, we are in Mystery Knit Along season, which is my favorite time of year because I get to force knitters to do weird things in their knitting every year, whether they like it or not. But they like it, you like it, you know you like it. So it's really fun because we get to knit a shawl without knowing what the heck we're making. So we're in the 13th Mystery Knit Along. So if you're gonna participate, just know that it's gonna be a new design. Twists and Turns is the name of it. So that might be a little bit of a clue, but it's gonna flow into the world of Westknits shawls. So I'm gonna show you a few of the past ones so that you can be like, ooh, that's cool, and then know that this year's shawl is gonna be nothing like these, okay? But it's gonna be just as fun, but in a different way. I always like talking about the Mystery Knit Along because it's like, how can you describe something that's like cool and fun without telling people anything about it? So Twists and Turns kind of gives away maybe some things, however you want to interpret that. I interpret it by thinking that my brain was a little twisted this year. So we're gonna do a couple things in the shawl that I've never done in a shawl before. And I usually do that each Mystery Knit Along. There's usually an element or two in it that's a new experiment for me, and then I like how people interpret that experience for themselves. Some people like it, some people are scared, but I always like when people are scared and like, oh my gosh, what are we doing to the section? And then the end, I like to turn them around and then they go, oh, now I get it. I should have just trusted Westknits because it's always gonna be an awesome shawl. So we're gonna make a beautiful shawl, but the process is what's really fun. Each week in October, we get a section of the pattern until the final shawl is revealed. And we get to see thousands of other knitters make it in other color combos. So it's really inspiring and yeah, just really exciting to be part of something so yeah, visually beautiful and exciting, and yeah, people get really into it. And there's some fun videos. Still a fun video coming soon for this year. So this was a couple years ago, the Slip Stravaganza. This was all about slip stitches. So this year's shawl is not going to be like this, but it's going to be like the Westknits style, which means it's going to be fun, graphic, punchy. There's going to be some different elements collaged together. So when you're knitting the Westknits mystery shawl, we're not going to knit the same thing every single week. We're going to try a little something, and next week we're going to go, wait, where do I go from section 1? Do I go this way, that way? Oh, this is a different type of vibe. Okay. So sometimes it's more intricate section, sometimes it's more easy, but they're never too difficult, because I like to set things up and then relax, you know? We're probably not going to be doing, like, I don't know, what's something really complicated? Well, I don't want to say, because maybe we'll do it. Yeah, I won't say what we're not going to do. But yeah, just imagine what like the worst thing you could ever knit is. We're not going to do that, okay? It's going to be fun. Simple stitches with a twist. What does that mean? And this is what we did a couple years ago. So you can get that idea of knits and purls and slips and how they're all collaged in a fun, funky way. And then the year before that was Starflake. And this was a really beautiful 2-color shawl. And this year's pattern also is a good contrast type of shawl. So Twists and Turns uses a main color, a contrast color, 2 skeins each, plus an accent color. So this is the color style for this year's shawl. We've got a main, contrast, and then 1 accent color. So basically the color style this year is like Starflake. This was the color style for Starflake. 2 skeins of each color. So imagine with your color choices for Twists and Turns, pick a main color and contrast color that you think would look really cool as a Starflake shawl, but then choose an accent color that's gonna, you know, be a color pop, an accent against that main vibe. So most of your shawl is gonna be a main contrast color interaction, and that accent color is gonna spice things up. It's gonna jump out of the fabric, and yeah, it's gonna be a spicy pop. I'm trying not to give too much away. You gotta wait. October 6th, we're gonna find out what the first section is. I'm so excited. But this is the yarn you need. 500 grams, 200 grams main color, 200 grams contrast, 100 grams accent color. So Starflake is a really good kind of color style, and Rockefeller is also a good example. So a different design, really different from Starflake, but it has a main color and contrast color. So when you're picking your colors, ask yourself, okay, Twists and Turns, how would my color choices look in a Rockefeller? Ooh, that would be really contrasty. Or maybe you've got 2 busy colors. It can get too busy if you have like a multicolor together with another multicolor, or if this is your main color and this is your contrast color, those are too close. If these were knit together in a Rockefeller shawl, you wouldn't see all that beautiful work you're doing. So get a little contrast, like a darker gray, or get a color pop with your gray. That would be a good 3-color combo. Yeah, this is a really fun speckled combination. So think, ooh, this would be really cool as a Starflake shawl, and then add your accent color pop. It could be a yellow, or maybe you could do a rusty orange as your accent, or a green. So the accent color is a really fun opportunity to go bold and go brave and have a flash to your knitting. So yeah, this was Rockefeller. This was the second mystery knit along I did. And this was the year that I think the mystery knit along started to really get some momentum, and a lot more people started to participate, because I started really experimenting more during the Rockefeller with shawl shaping and asking myself, how can you make a shawl but from a different perspective and with a different type of construction? So I started making these modular types of constructions, which get really exciting because you never know which direction it's going to go. And I love the arch shape of Rockefeller too. So this is a good classic Westknit shawl where you learn lots of techniques and it never gets boring, and it looks really great with all kinds of color combos. So I'll show you a few more past MKALs so you can get more of a flavor of what kind of styles and details I like in my knitting. This was one where we had a cable for the first time in a mystery shawl. The Doodler is the name of this one, and it had this big cable for clue 2 for the second set of instructions, and that was a really fun detail that formed the wingspan edge of the shawl. And there were some short rows and waves and fun little picot clusters. So there were a couple new elements in this year's mystery shawl that I made for the Doodler. And it's a smaller size than my shawls that have been coming out now. And this year's shawl, it's going to be bigger than the Doodler, but it's not too big. So some of you ask, like, is there going to be sizes? Is it going to be too huge? Can I finish it? So if you're worried about the size being too big, I wouldn't worry too much this year, because I think it's a perfect size. It's big, but it's not overwhelming, okay? It's going to be a similar size kind of to Speckle and Pop, I think, in terms of the amount of knitting and yarn. So this is a nice size. It's not massive, but there's a lot going on and a lot to keep you entertained each week. So this was a really fun one with chevrons and short rows and these big eyelets. I really love taking techniques and exaggerating them and mixing different types of skills together in the same shawl. So you get to try a little bit of this, and if you really liked it, then maybe you get challenged in the next section, or if one section is a little easy for you, then there's going to be something more exciting coming later on. So I always shake it up and give you a really nice rhythm and a nice ride. And I really love enjoying the process of designing these shawls, because I spend so much time conceptualizing and planning and prototyping all the mystery shawls. So I pour a lot of passion into it, and you get to experience the results of that and get to experience what my brain was doing as I was designing the shawl. You're thinking about the same things as you're knitting it. What's going to happen after this section? This is a little easy. Let's do something a little more fun the next time, the next section. So you get to experience the same kind of rhythms and moods that I was feeling when I was designing the shawl. So one more mystery shawl. This is probably one of my most knit shawls, the Exploration Station, and the first shawl that I had brioche in. And yeah, I really liked the rhythm of this design, and it's a really good shawl to learn a lot of skills like brioche and short rows, eyelets and slip stitches, easy moments and moments you have to focus on a little bit. So the rhythm of this Exploration Station process is really soothing and really fun to see how the colors interact in different ways throughout the fabric. So those are some of my favorites. Yeah, there's been 12 mystery shawls already, and this will be the 13th one. So if you're one of those knitters that have done like 5, 6, 10, or even all 12 of the mystery shawls, it's going to be a whole new experience. And we're going to do things this year that might be familiar to you. You may have seen some of the elements. And then there's going to be some elements I guarantee like 90% of you knitters probably haven't done in a shawl before. So I'm excited to show you what those are and to experience that together. And all the knitting fun starts on October 6th. So we're gonna cast on October 6th, which from now means you have about a month to collect your colors and finish your works in progress. Or let's be honest, just cast on like a few more projects so that you're prepared for knitting season. Because when I'm knitting, I don't like to be without a project. If you're only working on one or two, what if you get bored of that project? You gotta have a sock, you gotta have a sweater, you gotta have like a color work, something fun and captivating to knit on. You need something really easy. So that's why I have 20 works in progress. That's underestimating it, but maybe I'll do a real count for you one day. I don't count the ones that have been just sitting there for years. Those I rip out, and now they're called swatches. So I've changed what my works in progress mean. So for some of you, they might look like I have 50 works in progress, but to me, I feel like I have like 10 active works in progress and 40 swatches is what they're called now. Yeah, abandoned projects. Yeah, they could become something, but let's be honest, they never will. And I'm okay with that. That gives me more license to start new things. So yeah, I can't wait to see what y'all do with the mystery knit along this year. There's a lot of fun discussion in the Ravelry group to share your colors. MKAL 2022 on Ravelry. And you can share on Instagram as well, all the color choices. Changing your mind. That's what a lot of people do. You pick your palette, change your mind, and then when the clue comes out, you're like, ooh, maybe I'll add an extra color. So you can do whatever you want with the knitting, but I'm gonna guide you through exactly how to do it with your 3 colors. Main color, contrast color, and your accent color pop. Twists and turns. I hope you'll do it this year. It's gonna be really fun. Well, thank you for watching. I am really excited that it's finally fall and I have some new projects to cast on. After I showed you my socks, I'm like, I need that sweater, that rain or shine sweater. So if you have some new project ideas, let me know in the comments down below which projects you're gonna cast on before the mystery knit along. And if you've done a mystery knit along before, I'd love to hear in the comments which ones you've done or which one was your favorite one to do. And we can get excited and anticipate all the fun activity as October 6th, the cast on approaches. And there may be another video coming soon. I haven't done a music video in a while, Stitch. Do you think I should show them a music video? Do you guys want another music video? I might have something up my hand knitted sleeve. There might be a video in there. So stay tuned. There's a lot of fun surprises coming. And I'll see you in the next Woolly World of Westknits episode. Bye.